and welcome to the Senior Speech Education Recital of Miss Danica Kornelsen. Ms. Kornelsen's recital was prepared under the direction of Mrs. Danielle Hansen and is in partial fulfillment for the Bachelor of Science in Speech Education. Immediately following this performance, Ms. Kornelsen would be more than happy to welcome all of her guests out in the lobby. Here at Pensacola Christian College, it's our privilege to open each performance in prayer. If you would, please stand with me as I pray, and we'll begin. Lord, we thank you for bringing us to this moment, and specifically, we thank you for Danica and the hard work that she has put into this project, and most importantly, the challenges that she has overcome to get to this point. Thank you for all of her diligence, all of her hard work, and all of her perseverance. And Lord, I just pray that as we enjoy tonight's recital, that you would just again remind her of her love for the arts and her love for this story to shine through as she shows us what she has spent the past few years working towards. Thank you once again for our ability to enjoy the arts. I pray this in your name. Amen. You may be seated.
Unhappy day that I bought you! Zasha replied in Egyptian. What have you stolen today? Bread. Bread? And what else? And what else? Not else. Just bread. Lies. You lie. Both were too absorbed to notice the stranger who had at that moment entered the courtyard. Let be. Who are you to come into my courtyard and tell me, silence, fool, I am buying that slave of yours. In whose name? In Her Majesty, the Queen Pharaoh Hatshepsut's name. The stranger flung a purse contemptuously at Zasha's feet. In astonished silence, Mara followed her new master through the streets. Your name, girl? Mara, daughter of nobody, and his wife nothing. Take care. Wit becomes impudence in the mouth of a slave. I watched you in the marketplace. You are both daring and wise, and you think fast. I also notice you speak Babylonian. I speak the tongue well. As you heard, I bought you in the name of the Queen. You will serve her and myself, though no one will know this. No one will know that you are a purchased slave at all, for you will masquerade as a free maid. If anyone should find out any differently, you will die at once. Do you understand this far? I understand. What service am I to do? As you may have heard, a princess of Canaan is on her way to become the wife of the queen's brother. She will need an interpreter. You will be present at all her interviews with the king. Listen to what goes on between the king and those who surround him. Somehow, he is sending and receiving messages plotting against the queen, and I want to know how. In short, I'm a spy. Exactly. The stranger handed her a scarab and a sash from around his neck. Take these. They will pay for your way to Thebes. Sail to Thebes, find a man named Sanquen, give him the scarab, and leave the rest to him. Soon, Mara found herself standing on the deck of a cargo ship. staring coolly into the face of a fierce-shod riverman who was its captain.
Passage to Thebes! This is a cargo ship, mistress high and mighty.
He stopped abruptly. From Mara's outstretched fingers dangled a massive golden chain.
You can sleep over there. We weigh anchor in 5 minutes.
Mara made her way to her corner of the ship and lay down. It was some time later when she opened her eyes to find a tall young man staring down at her. Who are you and why do you stare at me?
My name is Sheftu. It was very rude of me to stare. Suppose we begin our acquaintance all over again.
Mara would not have been human had she not reacted to that smile. For 7 days, the cargo ship made its way southwards to Thebes. Each morning, Mara awoke to the fresh miracle that was her freedom, and each night, she lay in the starlight, speculating about her new life awaiting her in Thebes. Between times, there was food aplenty, and long, lazy hours of companionship with the young man she knew only as Sheftu. Several days into the voyage, Mara and Sheftu stood standing at the stern of the ship talking, when Nakonk, the burly riverman, crossed the deck to regard Sheftu warily.
A word with you, friend, when time permits, in my cabin.
Both men ducked under the barrel-shaped roof of the cabin. Stooping low, Mara moved swiftly between the bales to the rear wall of the cabin. Inside, she could hear the vague murmur of voices. She pressed her ears to the boards.
A henchman of the king. I suspected it then, and I'm sure of it now. Quite right. I meant you to suspect. I am the leader of the movement, and a close friend of His Most Royal Majesty, Thutmose, though few know it but his followers. On the outside, I live the life I was born to, that of an arrogant and wealthy lord, devoted to the queen. Her Majesty distributes bribes as lavishly as she does everything else, but my share of them flow in a strange direction. To Thutmose, precisely. Hatshepsut's gold buys her own downfall.
Oh, lucky chance that had drawn Mara here to listen. This information would be worth a fabulous amount to that new master of hers.
I wish I were one of you. You are one of us, Captain. Had I not been sure of you, you never would have reached our destination. I see. Well, what are my orders? For now, I would know your plans for the next few weeks.
There was an odd little silence. Mara frowned and leaned in closer. Then Nakom's voice came again, but it was louder and it sounded a little strained.
Once in Thebes, I'll lay over for 5 days while a new cargo is made ready. Then I'll...
A tiny sound behind Mara made her whirl around. There, not 3 feet from her, lounging casually against a bale, stood Lord Sheftu.
Are you not tired of straining your ears? Join us inside. We crave your company.
I wager you do with that. Let me go.
I thought you were enjoying our conversation. Otherwise, I'd not have let you overhear so much.
Let me? You knew I was listening.
Of course.
Sheftu grinned and started out through the bales, with Mara's wrist still firmly in his grasp. There was nothing to do but follow, as Mara found after a final struggle.
So, the eavesdropper. Nay, Captain, our guest. I know who this blue-eyed one is, and what master she serves.
Master? I have no master.
What a liar you are.
Come now. You'd best do as I say.
There's an ugly price for a runaway.
Runaway. If that were all. If that were all. Was that all he knew?
If I'd not actually seen her dragged home by the stupid oaf who owns her, look you, Mara, I'll not send you back to Zasha on one condition, that you serve me instead of Zasha, but not as a slave. I need someone who's like you, who's unknown beyond suspicion, and clever.
Sheftu knew nothing that could hurt her. True, he had just found out that she was a slave. What matter? He did not know her real master. The solution that sprang into her mind in the next instant was so simple, so obvious, that she all but laughed aloud. She would not choose. Why not play both ends, serve both, meanwhile serving only herself? Then when the cat jumped, she would jump with it. Ah, the opportunities that arose for one who knew how to use her wits. You're right. I have no choice. I agree to the condition.
Good. Then we will only need some way of getting you into the palace.
I speak Babylonian. Will not the princess need an interpreter?
Blue-eyed one already, you are invaluable. Here, take this ring. It will pay for new clothes that are suitable for a princess's interpreter.
Mara slipped the ring into her sash, struggling with inward mirth. Her new master had already provided the means for new clothing, and she would not have to part with Sheftu's beautiful lotus ring. Then all is settled?
Aye, except for the message you are to give the king. Tell him the Warhawk is coming.
Several days later, Mara found herself face to face with the Canaanite princess Inanni. Who are you? Your interpreter, Highness. Inanni's relief at hearing a familiar tongue spoken by one of these arrogant Egyptians was pathetic. She turned excitedly to the dozen heavily clad serving women who huddled behind her.
It's an interpreter! Oh, she speaks Babylonian!
However, it wasn't until several days later before Inanni was summoned before the queen's brother, King Thutmose.
Sir, this is the Babylonian. Disgusting, send the wretched creature away.
Thutmose turned to leave, then swung around to Mara.
And who might you be?
Mara, the interpreter?
Interpreter, what need I of that? I speak Babylonian, though I care not much for it, bumbling language. However, even with an interpreter at hand, I have naught to say to this goatherd's daughter.
Mara turned reluctantly to Inanni, who was staring miserably at the floor. Princess, His Highness presents his warmest regards. Son of Pharaoh, live forever. I crave pardon. I could not believe you meant to wound this princess, however lowly.
You mean you forgot I could understand?
I only meant to spare this unfortunate maiden who is homesick and frightened and who has only been met with contempt in the land of Egypt.
Now there, little one, who might you really be?
The princess's interpreter, Highness, but also yours to command.
At last, I thought as much. Tell me, is Sheftu safe?
Aye, he is safe. Translate, Mara. My princess, His Highness inquires after the health of thy brothers. Oh, tell him they flourish like the palm. In truth, Mara, this conversation is exceedingly strange. His words say one thing, in his face another. Look how he scowls. Is it always so with Egyptians? Frequently, Highness, our language is more complex than thine. In addition, His Highness complained of a headache, which I forgot to mention. He begs you not to judge his gallantry by his scowl. Oh, a headache! Oh, what a pity! No wonder he... Mara, remedy made of the crushed pods of the poppy. Between Inanni's questions and Thutmose's irony, Mara felt like a juggler with too many balls in the air. He was no help to her either, ignoring Inanni almost completely.
I wonder what axe Sheftu has found to hold over your pretty head. Perhaps not but those night black eyes. Never mind, I'm sure of him, therefore of you. You may proceed with your sweet Babylonian nothings on my behalf, then give me the message.
What did he say, Mara? Has he tried the remedy? No, my princess. He has never heard of such a thing. He is touched by your interest in his welfare. Oh, how I misjudged him. He is kindness itself. And so handsome. Is he not handsome, Mara? Murmuring agreement nervously, Mara turned to the startled Thutmose.
Pray, restrain yourself, or you will have this Babylonian in my arms. Hasten and give me the message. Our privacy will not last.
The Warhawk is coming.
The Warhawk. Thou of blue eyes, thy life is worth less than nothing should this reach any ears but his. Tell him he must journey to the river of darkness as we talked of long ago. He must take from the dead the gold Egypt must have to live.
Sheftu's orders were to commit the foulest crime known to Egypt, to rob a pharaoh's tomb.
You may arrange an audience for this Babylonian whenever you need to see me. Begone.
Mara managed to stammer something to the puzzled Inanni, and they withdrew. Put it out of your mind, Mara told herself fiercely. Sheftu will not obey, and if he does, that's his concern and none of yours. Look out for yourself first, and let others do the same. But the old line could not comfort her this time. Mysterious granite-faced master, who she now knew by the name of Lord Nahir.
So, you have had an audience with the pretender Thutmose. What did you learn?
Not of interest.
And why not?
It was no fault of mine, master. Not even the cleverest of spies can learn aught from an empty room. His Highness sent everyone away at once, save the princess and me.
Sent them away? If that is to be his habit, you'll be of little use to me.
Nay, wait. It will not always be thus. His Majesty sent everyone away at once only because the princess was ill at ease. Next time, no such thing will happen. I promise.
So you say.
I swear it. Only let me show you.
Now I realize you might not be able to find the leaders of this accursed plot, but with any luck, you should be able to find their messenger or some news of where they meet. You have had your chance. It would be unfortunate should you disappoint me again.
The next day, Mara slipped out secretly into the town by night. She went east along the palace wall, as Sheftu had told her, and then she crossed the street to a shop of a goldsmith. Someone was waiting.
Is that you, little one?
Nakonk!
Hist! Not a sound, maid. This way.
Nakonk, where are we going?
To Thebes, to a tavern on the waterfront. Oh, I near forgot to warn you. Never mention our master Sheftu's name at the Inn of the Falcon. There he is known only as Sashai.
Sashai? Does no one know him save us, then?
Only a few. The rest think him some messenger for some higher up.
Nakonk pushed open a door, like all the rest, save for the weathered wooden image of a falcon hanging from the pole above it. Inside was a courtyard, dimly lit by a flare bracketed beside another door on the far wall. Nakonk rapped, and the door swung open to reveal a busy tavern. Mara spotted Sheftu, sitting in a secluded corner. With a nod of farewell, Nakonk moved across the room to a group of rivermen gaming in a different corner. Mara made her way over to Sheftu.
So, you did it.
No thanks to you.
You've not told me what you think of the Inn of the Falcon.
I like it well, save for that old woman with the beady eye over there. She could watch me no closer if I were after her money ring.
Well, she has her reasons.
Sashai, do you not trust me?
My lovely Mara. I don't trust you as far as tomorrow.
So you've said before.
Nay, I have great faith in your reluctance to go back to loaf snatching.
He was laughing at her now. All in an instant, he had retreated behind that charming facade. One thing was certain. He wished to remind her, and perhaps himself, of their precise relationship. Loaf snatching, gutter snipe. Very well, so be it. A lover's quarrel, friend Sashai. It was a juggler, standing at the entrance to their cubicle. He had a crooked shoulder, Mara noticed, and a smile of curious charm in a twisted, ugly face.
Nay, Sahor, we never quarrel, nor are we in love.
The first was a lie, but the second? And may I know this lovely one whom you claim you do not love?
Nay, Sahor, begone. Others crave your talents.
While you crave to mend this quarrel, which is not a quarrel, with this lovely one, who is not beloved. In that case, I will leave you, flower of grace, though not forever. Now, tell me, is my Pharaoh Thutmose well? What did he say? He is well. He says, you must get more gold. You must rob the dead. But Sashai, you won't.
I have to. After 6 long years, the plans that Thutmose and I made are almost complete. The work is almost finished. Hatshepsut's elaborate structure of power is now like a house, set upon columns of sand. When you see Thutmose next, say to him, he of the fan and he of the feather have come into our house.
He of the fan and he of the feather?
Aye, lords with soldiers to support us.
Sheftu explained there remained only a few lords still stubbornly loyal to the queen. These must be won over by persuasion and by gold, the greatest persuader of them all. A few days later, Mara and a nanny walked together in the lotus gardens of the palace. Mara, a young nobleman approaches.
Greetings, princess. I bear her majesty the Pharaoh's greetings.
Princess, His Excellency, Lord Sheftu, wishes to... Mara, I don't want to talk to this young man, nor does he want to talk to me. I have an errand to run elsewhere. Excuse me.
Nanny hurried away, leaving Sheftu alone with Mara.
We are free to talk. Bless the nanny for giving us this chance. Sheftu grabbed Mara's hands and led her to a secluded corner. All too late, Mara was aware of the ring on her finger as if it were a circlet of fire burning into her flesh. The lotus ring that Sheftu had given her to pay for new clothing. I'm touched that you would treasure this ring for so long. Oh, I meant to tell you ages ago the old man would take naught for helping me. Here, you can have it back. Nay, keep it as a token of my esteem. Mara tried to smile. Why did he stand there staring? She could never tell anything from that impenetrable face of his. Be at the inn tomorrow by the mark of 5. By then, the golds that my Pharaoh needs will be safely on the vessel, the Friend of the Wind. I'll be there, Sheftu. Be safe. The next night, Mara sat alone at the Inn of the Falcon for 5 weary hours.
Live forever, face of the lily. Thou art long alone tonight. Where is our friend Sashai?
I know not. Begone, Sephor. Mara rose and, grabbing her cloak, moved through the inn, through the sound of tambourine and the thick smell of meat, into the fresh, chill air of the night. Across the courtyard, Sheftu strolled forward, with Nakonk trailing after him. Sheftu grabbed Mara's arm and led her from the courtyard. Sheftu, where are you going? At the inn we could... You will not be going back to the inn tonight. Why not? Sheftu, is something wrong? Is aught amiss? Aye, much is amiss. The vessel, the Friend of the Wind, was raided tonight by the Queen's soldiers. Nay, they can't. They mustn't. All the gold. Oh, Sheftu, you must do something. You're the leader. I, a brilliant leader. I've saved Egypt with one hand and destroyed her with the next by trusting a maid as faithless as the wind. You think I did it, my lovely Mara. No doubt exists. But I didn't do it. There must have been another who knew. I didn't do it. Sheftu, it was Sahur. It was that babbling juggler. I was certain you would place the blame somewhere else. Sheftu, you're blind. Be silent. I know all about you. All. I know you're a slave in the Queen's pay. I know you lied to me then. And you've lied to me every day since. Mara was slowly, almost imperceptibly backing away from Sheftu. Suddenly she whirled to run, and just as suddenly his hand shot out and seized her wrist. In his other hand, he held a knife. That master of yours, wherever he is. What did you tell him? How much did you tell him? Instead of shrinking from the knife, Mara threw herself against Sheftu, flung her free arm around his neck, and kissed him. What happened next was never clear in Mara's mind. She was aware of a strangled oath from Sheftu, heard the clatter of the knife hit the cobblestones, and felt herself hurtled against Nakonk as if she'd been thrown. Take her, Captain! Take her out of Thebes, out of Egypt, just never let me see her again!
Oh, Nakonk! Where is he?
He's gone, little one. Here, I'll make sure of it.
Sheftu started down in the direction that Sheftu had gone. Meanwhile, Mara was already running. She ran towards the palace. There was but one thing to do. Find Nahir, her granite-faced master, and learn his plans. Mara ran into the palace, and there was Nahir, standing talking to a group of excited rivermen. He turned and stared at her. Master, I crave pardon. The rebels suspect me. So, the rebels suspect you. How unkind of them. Why did you not tell me of the ship tonight? Because I knew it was a trap. It was all a hoax, a snare set for me that I had the good sense to stay away from.
You do not but lie. The game is over, isn't it? Too bad. It must have been fun while it lasted. The queen will want to question you, O traitorous one. Chamber of the Golden House, weary and sore, with her arms bound tightly in front of her. Before her on the throne sat Her Royal Majesty, the Queen Pharaoh Hatshepsut. You, slave, have you heard the charges brought against you? Do you deny them? Nay, I do not deny them. Who is the leader of the plot? Your Majesty, I do not know him. Do you dare defy me? Who is the leader? I do not know him. Let us go about this a different way. I will spare you from all further punishment if you will answer the question. More than that, I will grant you your freedom and give you 50 golden deben and a silver chain. Gold and freedom. Once Mara had wanted those things above all else. Your Majesty, I do not know him. Let's try this. The man called Sashai, do you know him? I know him. Who is he? Describe him, then. He is short, not much above my own height, with wide shoulders and a girth that would take 2 sashes to go around. He has a curled wig and a scar upon his chin. Here is your testing stick, Radiant One. Juggler, come forth. Is the man called Sashai short, full of girth, having a curled wig and a scar upon his chin?
Sashai. I would scarce describe him as such. He is young and somewhat comely, however, this bedraggled lily here found him handsome enough, I dare say.
She has done naught but lie and defy my majesty. Just then, the doors to the Golden House swung open, and an arrogant, gold-decked figure Mara thought she would never see again strolled forward. Evening, Radiant One, Excellencies, rejoice. Where are the criminals, daughter of the sun? Surely my lord Nahir's fearless coup netted more than one wretched slave girl. Poor catch indeed, but alas, all we have, and the wretch has told us not. Perhaps she knows not. Already Sheftu had contrived to make this whole matter seem vaguely ridiculous. If your majesty would allow me, perhaps I might soothe the maid a bit, tempt her with some small reward.
Nay, we tried that. I offered her both golds and freedom. She scorned them.
She scorned them. Sheftu was not acting now, and there was a note in his voice that stirred Mara to a deep, unreasonable joy. She refused a bribe.
Aye, she did. Sheftu had not lost his manner of arrogant, debonair grace as he stared at Mara. Then Mara glanced at the juggler, and her heart sank.
But you no more, Seshai. That is Seshai, the scribe of the falcon, the same.
In an instant, the room was pandemonium, and 2 soldiers grabbed Sheftu and held him fast. Lord Sheftu, let us go about this in a different manner. I could make you the most powerful man in all of Egypt. All this could be yours, and more. Surely there is some treasure you crave.
Aye, there is, Your Majesty.
Soldiers, release his lordship. The soldiers stepped back, and Sheftu stood free. Then he turned and strode towards Mara and took her in his arms. That is your treasure, Lord Sheftu.
Aye, the greatest treasure of all of Egypt. A maid whose loyalty cannot be bought.
Mara did not see what signal the queen gave to the soldiers, but suddenly she and Sheftu were jerked apart. Mara glanced at Sheftu, and her heart sank, for the queen had found her weapon at last. Sheftu was fighting his captors like a madman, though his lips were tightly shut. For a moment, Mara could not distinguish the strange new sound from the rushing in her own ears. Then soldiers were everywhere, pouring into the room in endless streams. Mara closed her eyes. When she opened them, she knew not how much later, all was strangely quiet. At one end of the open aisle stood Hatshepsut, motionless and stiffly erect, with the royal cobra on her brow. At the other end of the aisle, approaching with the stride of the conqueror, came the long, fettered king Thutmose.
Hatshepsut, get down!
With a sweep of her robes, Hatshepsut turned and went into her inner chambers. Thutmose followed. It seemed like a long time before the door opened again, and Thutmose stepped forward alone. At the sight of the royal cobra on his brow, the entire company fell to their knees. Outside, the night was dark, the air cool and fragrant. Mara and Sheftu walked in the lotus gardens of the palace. Sheftu, it's all over.
Nay, little one, it's just beginning. Many things are just beginning.